Golden Straw. Chapter 5. Eliza and I found ourselves being dragged back to the dungeons. This time we both refused to go with Ronald. Eliza distracted him as I tried to find Liam. It was no use as Ronald quickly chained her and then a guard caught up to me. The men gagged us so we wouldn't make any unwanted noise. We should have known some guards were loyal to Ronald. He probably paid them off. Ronald directed us down the stairs with a knife at Eliza's back. We held one another as we walked down to the room. He tossed us in, then came in himself and locked the door while the guard left. We watched as he stuck the key in his coat pocket. "Do it," he yelled at me with great force. "She can't," Eliza said. "She isn't a witch." Ronald shook his head. "Don't lie to me, girl. She has done it before. Do it. Now." "No. I won't. I can't. I got a potion from a man to enchant the spinning wheel. It isn't me that did it. I can't," I protested. He stormed to Eliza and picked her up off the floor. She thrashed around until it was pointless to struggle. He held the knife to her throat and looked me dead in the eyes. "Do it," I cried. "I can't. Not without the potion. Don't kill her. Please." Ronald only held the knife closer to her. I panicked and started to rush around to buy time. I had no plan besides looking busy. My hands quivered as I tried to appear as if I knew what I was doing. I prayed that someone, anyone would come and help us. Maybe one of Liam's guards heard our struggle. Then the skinny man appeared from his dark corner. Ronald's knife went to the man as he demanded to know who he was. The man's grin twisted like a devil. It seemed strange to see these two in the same room. Both men trying to get what they wanted from me. At that moment, I was on the wizard's side more than I had ever been. "I am the one who has given ye your gold. Or were ye truly stupid enough to think this lassie had the power to do such a thing? For an advisor, you don't seem very bright," the man said to Ronald. "Do it again for her," Ronald shouted at him. The man clicked his tongue as he walked around the room. "I don't think so. At least with no payment of my own." "What do you wish then?" Ronald asked. The man looked at me with keen eyes. "Her firstborn child to the king." My breath was sucked out of my lungs. I couldn't imagine why this man would request something like that. What would my child gain him, assuming I even married the king to begin with? Ronald laughed and said, "Deal." The man stared at Ronald, glaring him down. "That is not your decision. She has to say yes. I don't, however, care how you make her agree with ya." I watched in horror as Ronald placed the knife back at Eliza's throat. "Don't worry, dear. I'll make sure your child with the king isn't stolen from you. You simply don't marry him. Now agree to it or the cost will be your friend's life." Eliza stayed strong, and with her eyes, she told me not to agree. For the sake of my happiness, she would give up hers. I could pay her right back with that. Ronald was right. If I didn't marry the king, I wouldn't have to give up my firstborn child. "I agree," I said. Both men smiled. Ronald threw Eliza to the ground, and I rushed to her side, helping her up. Ronald went over to the spinning wheel with the man as he poured his potion upon the wheel. I didn't care anymore, only that my dear friend was safe. "Are you all right?" I asked, choking on sobs. She smiled, and from the folds of her dress, she revealed the door's key. "Better than all right, but you shouldn't have agreed. You know, as soon as they're done, Ronald will kill us either way. That's how it works." I nodded. Together we quietly made our way to the door while they were distracted. Ronald had his back to us and his figure covered the wizard's view of our direction. However, I didn't see why the wizard would alert Ronald of our departure when it didn't apply to him at all. Eliza unlocked the door. We looked at Ronald to see if he had heard the click, but he was still absorbed in making gold to notice. Together we pushed the door open as quietly as possible while trying to keep our chains silent as well. The door was halfway there when someone from the other side lurched it open, causing an immense screech. Eliza and I looked behind us, forgetting about the person on the other side of the door as Ronald turned around with his knife. The person grabbed the two of us and dragged us out of the room. Their tall figure stepped in front and entered the room. The person was none other than Liam himself with a sword in his hand. We watched as Ronald stood frozen while the other man disappeared by smashing a potion down at his feet without bothering to get into a dark corner. From behind us, one of the maids who assisted me with my dresses got us out of our chains. She gestured for us to follow her, though I didn't want to leave. We heard a shriek. Eliza tried to get me to move, but then Liam came out of the room. I watched as he dropped his sword wet with blood to the stone floor. "I can't believe this," he mumbled. My own advisor was filled with greed, enough to believe a tall tale like that. Enough to threaten your lives. The maid and Eliza stared at his sword while I looked at his pained face. "Did you kill him?" Eliza dared to ask. Liam shook his head as if dissatisfied. "No, I have never had the strength to kill anyone off the battlefield. He will, however, be charged for his crimes." It grieved me so much to see him like this. I hardly knew what to say. It only made me think of the price I would have to pay if I married him. Was it wrong that I still wanted to marry him? How could I do that to him? How could I do that to myself? I fell to my knees and wept. Eliza and Liam knelt next to me. Eliza rubbed my back as Liam took my hands I covered my face with. "I agreed to give that wizard my firstborn child. Samantha, I am so sorry this has happened to you. I should have seen Ronald's plan from the beginning. It wasn't normal for him to agree so quickly with me. I was blinded by the chance to fall in love, and I didn't care how unusual his behavior has been of late." He told me, "Samantha, I would like you to be my bride." The last part only made me cry harder. I pushed him away and went into Eliza's arms. She hugged me and brushed my hair with her fingers. Eliza, being the kind soul she was, spoke for me. "Your Majesty," to do what Ronald wanted of her, she gave up something she shouldn't have to save my life. It was a deal that would take her firstborn child to you and only you away. I only heard Liam breathe. I didn't know what to expect him to do. What would someone respond with after hearing something like that? Out of the blue, Eliza's arms left me, and I was suddenly in Liam's. I felt him rest his head on mine. "I won't let that get in the way. We can protect our child from that man. I know it. If we wait long enough, he might even forget this arrangement." "How do you know?" "You have no way of telling what will." I am cut off by his lips on top of mine. It was clear he loved doing that to me. I was beginning to like it as it kept me on my toes. I couldn't believe he still wanted to pursue me even when he knew what might happen in the future. Our precious kiss ended, but he remained close and tenderly cupped my cheek. "Will you marry me?" "Should I?" He chuckled. "I'm not planning on a wedding tomorrow, and I'm not okay with our firstborn being used as a bargaining chip, but I must see where this path takes us." There was a whack at my head. "Say yes." As he said, "Your child will be safe. You'll be living in a castle. Unless, of course, you don't love him." "Sorry, Your Majesty, but I will not accept a loveless marriage for my best friend." Liam laughed. "Nor would I." His eyes went back to me, and I could see there was a flicker of worry. I smiled sheepishly and said, "I want to explore my feelings too." "My feelings for you, Liam." Liam was so delighted that he picked me up like before and spun me around. Eliza smiled as did the maid. I smiled the most though besides Liam himself. His beaming grin could outshine anyone. Then from the other side of the closed cellar door, Ronald said, "Look, I brought you your dreams. You don't have to make my gold anymore, girl." Liam set me down and slammed his fist in the door, scaring the advisor so badly that we heard him scream like a cat. Though we didn't see him, we were sure he looked like one too as he backed away from the door.